and welcome to The Natural View. I'm Maggie Jaqua, editor of WholeFoods magazine, and I'm here with Todd Pauli of 24 Stories Marketing. Welcome, Todd.
Hey, Maggie, how are you?
Good. It's good to have you here, and we are here to talk about our March issue, which we just closed.
That's right. I'm excited. So I'm excited on a number of different levels. I can't, the reason why I'm wearing short sleeves today is because we're talking about March. That means it's almost spring, even though it's about, I think, 15 degrees in Western Michigan and there's a bunch of snow on the ground. Every time this year comes, or this time of the year comes around, start talking about retailer survey, we start talking about warmer weather. I'm excited. So let's talk about spring. Let's talk about March.
We'll pretend it's spring, even though we're having ice.
Yeah, the reality is it's still going to be cold and snowy here in March, but other places, I think it starts to warm up.
All right. Well, for those people, we're jealous. So we just wrapped up our retailer survey. It's our 43rd annual retailer survey. So WholeFoods magazine has been doing this for a long time. And this year is of particular interest because the survey period includes months of COVID. So we get to see how the stores really fared impacted by COVID.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It's going to be an interesting look. It's always this wealth of information for retailers, right? And really the whole industry, because as retailers go, so does the industry. So one thing I thought was interesting in the article is you throw out a big number right away, right? 5.02%. And tell me what that stands for and why everyone should be interested in this number from this year's survey.
So the big number is, that we reveal is our retailers up or down overall, same store sales year over year, and they are up on average 5.02%. And this is independent natural products retailers. That's who in the US, that's who's responding to the survey. So that was the good news. Of course, there is a wealth of data in the survey. Not everybody was up, not all categories were up. So we take a really deep dive into specific categories. We look at 9 different categories and we show who was up where and who was down where, and you get the total picture is published in our March issue with tons more content on available online as well.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting to see, especially given some of the details from last year, as we all know, in terms of shutdowns and everything else that made it tough. So I was happy to see that number, understanding that, different categories and store levels can vary widely. One thing that I found really helpful in the article itself was just from a retailer perspective, you guys really do a great job of laying out how to use the survey as a retailer. I mean, the numbers are interesting, and someone like me on the marketing side runs through them, takes a look, and there's a lot of great insights there. But from a store level, you really make it easy to go deeper than that, down to the level of trying to figure out what category a store falls into. You give explicit instructions on how to do that and then how to use that data going forward. So I encourage all retailers to really take a look and figure out from, through your own retailer lens and your own store lens, what this means, because there's some areas you can say, hey, we're killing it, right? Keep doing it. But there are some areas where I'm sure most people will find they could improve based on some of these survey questions. And then you've got this easy task list to go down and say, 2021, we're going to start hitting whatever it is, merchandising better or whatever. And I thought that was just really helpful. It's one of those tools where the more you dive in as a retailer, the more you can use it. So I know that's why it's been so popular in the industry over all these years.
Yeah, and Jay Jacobowitz, who's the merchandising editor of WholeFoods magazine, and he's also the president and founder of Retail Insights. So he is my partner on this survey and compiling the data, and he really analyzes what a lot of these numbers mean to help stores of various sizes, see where their opportunities are. So, just very valuable, and I certainly encourage everybody to check that out.
Yeah, and just a quick added thing for brands and ingredient providers alike, we're going to talk a little bit here about some merchandising stuff and about in-store materials in some of the other articles we're talking about, but really in this one too, brands and ingredient suppliers can take a look at this and see where some holes may be in terms of whether it's product knowledge or merchandising or whatever, and they can start to partner with retailers. I mean, it's a good launch pad for marketing efforts on that side too, in terms of, what can we help them with in terms of succeeding on those specific areas through co-marketing or whatever it may be, education. And so there's stuff in there for the whole supply chain, really.
Absolutely. And for the whole supply chain, we will also be having a webinar where Jay and I will take a deep dive into this. The survey and the webinar are sponsored by Nutrisource. So we will stay tuned. We'll update you on details of when that's going to take place, but that's where people can come and join us and get their specific questions answered as well. So more to come on the survey for sure.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. So let's talk about free from foods, right? This is another outstanding article in the issue that I was pretty interested to dive into. There's some new stuff. There's some things that as the industry we have known for a long time about this, and it really does a good job of blending those two together and putting it through a lens of, last year, this year, continuing with COVID, how some of these trends have been defined a little more acutely. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, food allergies are a serious and growing problem, and COVID impacted the supply chain. I mean, where people couldn't find their usual brands, or their usual brands may have had to substitute ingredients. So some of the brands that we talked to who specialize in this area talked about, in the supply chain, kind of the state of affairs and the importance of really knowing what is in the product, and clear labeling and transparency, and just the safety measures that are so important. I mean, if you have an allergy, if your child has an allergy, obviously you can't take any risks with this.
Yeah. And I thought just, I think zeroing in on the allergen specifically and how crucial it is for consumers and then for retailers to really be knowledgeable and understand is a great point. And then if you expand that a little bit to a larger lens and you think about, just consumers in general wanting to know where their ingredients come from, want to be able to see a clean label. I mean, one thing struck me as all of that's very true today more than ever, but it's also been true in our industry for a while now. And I think, this just reinforces the fact that anything brands can do and ingredient suppliers can do to help get that information out there. If you're producing a good product, if you're providing a good product, it's a no-brainer then to make it easy to understand and tell that story. And I think retailers, there's good information there about how they can use flyers, they can use brochures, sales training. They can also use, we talked a couple of podcasts ago about ELI codes, right? And using those on shelf to, take a picture with your phone, and then you could see, you can meet the sourcing farmer. You could meet, you could show a 1-minute video as a brand about where this product came from, and all of that, just building trust. I mean, there's so many tools to do that. And this article makes it clear, we know as an industry we should be doing that. We also know consumers are expecting and wanting that. So
more and more, right? Especially like you said, the ELI codes are such a great way. You just scan it, and the ELI codes are great because you can update the information. The brands can update the information and deliver, as it changes, easily deliver new information to the consumers. So with something like allergies, where you have to constantly be communicating, it's an excellent tool.
All right. Well, hey, let's move on a little bit. Is there another story that we should touch on?
Well, we also talk, as you said, we're moving into spring, so we also touch on seasonal allergies in this issue, which we usually do in March. And Todd, have you ever heard about botanical sexism?
I have not, and I have to tell you. So I have to tell you, I read a lot, like for pleasure, for work, whatever. The first paragraph of this story was probably one of the most fascinating things I've read in a year. I had no idea that this could be something that this drove the increase in seasonal allergies. And it makes total sense because I've told my wife, I've walked out, the vehicles are covered in yellow dust. And I've said before, I don't remember this as a kid. How did this happen all of a sudden?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating look at botanical sexism and the role it's playing and why our allergies are getting worse. This was written by Julia Peterman on my staff. And when I read it, I was like, Julia, wow, I learned so much that I had no idea. So we kind of, the article talks to you about that, about some of why allergies are getting worse. It's not just in your head if you feel like, oh man, every year. And then we really break down the natural products that can help. So, and there is a lot out there. So we talk to the experts about the latest science and ingredients that can help ease your allergies and what retailers can stock and the considerations in terms of merchandising as well. So we look at the whole category. It's a really interesting article.
Yeah, it really is. And I think similar to some of the immune content in last issue, in the February issue, this is another one where retailers should just take this, post it up in their break room, their back room, or whatever, because it really gives that, that step-by-step, here's how to help. As a consumer walks in and has an issue. And I like that there's a lot in there that's about lifestyle too. It's beyond product. And again, this is, as I'm thinking as a former way back when retail salesperson myself, if you're armed with non-product information, along with product information, I mean, it builds that trust. You become that person that someone has a health issue they can come in and talk to. So arming your sales staff with all of that information is just such a great resource. And one more thing I have to tell you, I got super excited about all the information from Hello Health about kids merchandising and talking about allergens for kids and putting up, making a section, putting up balloons, coloring books, make this an inclusive thing and a big deal in your store. And as I walk into health food stores, some do a great job of this, some could do better, but it's about making it fun. And I can't think of a more exciting thing for, one of the floor reps to go and build this out, right? I mean, I think there's tons of people that would get into building this type of merchandising and making it fun for your customers. I think it's just a great idea. It was a great tip.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's more in there about cross merchandising too, and tissues and the whole thing. So we took the whole spectrum, a lot of information in there. So definitely check that out on Allergies. They're coming. We will be
I know. I welcome them at this point. I can't wait for warm weather. So
you'll take it.
All right. Well, hey.
On what you can do in advance before your allergies set in. So
that's right. That's right. Preparation's the key to everything, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks for reviewing. I mean, I think those were some great takeaways. Is there anything else from the issue that we should touch on before we wrap it up?
I think that's good. There's some information on there on immune health, as well as new research on ashwagandha, on sleep and immune. So lots of content in there, lots of breaking research. So check out the issue and we'll follow up again next month.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, take care, Maggie.
Thanks, Todd.
Bye.